everybody, it's Becky. Welcome to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. The year is already halfway over, more than halfway over. Do you feel burned out, demotivated, unfocused, and just feel like maybe you're not gonna be able to do all the things that you wanted to do this year? So maybe you'll just wait until next year to do it. If that is something that you feel like or something you struggle with, I think today's video will be really helpful. I'm gonna be sharing my fall reset video with you guys. I've never done a reset video before, but I'm super excited because I do it myself all the time at home. I just have never really shared it. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you guys some things that I do that you can also do that will really help you to stay focused, to alleviate burnout, to remotivate yourself, and to be as productive and happy and healthy as you can. So if you want to hear all the things I'm planning to do for my fall reset, then stay tuned. Okay, so before I get into any of my reset stuff, I want to tell you that I know that it's a little bit early to be sharing this video. Fall doesn't technically start where I live until the middle of September. But in my mind, fall starts when school goes back. So, and I think it's always been that way when I was a kid because, you know, when you start school, they're pushing like the fall close. And let's just be honest, the stores have been pushing fall on us for the last 2 months. You know, Hobby Lobby has had everything out that's fall in like, for at least a month. And I've been there recently and they're getting their Christmas stuff out. I feel like these stores kind of push us sooner than we want to into these new seasons, but also I feel like when school starts back, to me, I'm already kind of in fall mode. So, and then for me, fall ends on October 31st because as soon as November 1st comes, it is all things Christmas and Thanksgiving for me. And I know people say, well, Thanksgiving's in fall, and it is, and most of December is still technically fall, and it is here in the US, but as soon as Halloween is over, we are like Christmas mode. We decorate for Christmas early November and try to get as much enjoyment out of that as we can because Christmas is such a short amount of time of the year. So in the world of Becky and in my world, my calendar, my fall calendar, fall starts on August 15th because that's our first day of school this year, and it ends on October 31st. So in that amount of time, these are the things that I am doing or will plan to do in fall. And if you guys like this video, I can do another one for winter. But even if you don't follow the Becky calendar of the seasons and you have your own calendar of the seasons, maybe the actual one, then I think these tips will still be really helpful for you. So the first thing I like to do every new season is look ahead for the rest of the year and see, you know, what things did I think or did I want to get done this year that may or may not actually be able to happen now. And given the fact that we're already 8 months into the year, I have a pretty good idea of things that I cannot realistically finish either because of time or budget. I already have a list going for 2023 of things that I kind of wanted to do this year, but I think maybe we'll have to get penciled into next year. And that'll be something that once the new year comes, I already have that list kind of made. I already have a lot of things on that list that I know I still need to do, and I can more realistically in January sit down and say, okay, you know, we can probably do this, this, and this, but this other thing on this list might be even next year. You know, it really helps me to keep those things that I need and want to do on my agenda, kind of where I can see it and I know it needs to still be done, but I know realistically it's not gonna happen in the remainder of the current year. So having those things that I have kind of reprioritized until the next year or a little bit beyond really helps me to stay focused and focus my mental space on the current year and goals that I am currently working on, or things that I can realistically either finish in the next couple months or make a lot of progress towards in the next couple months. And you can make a lot of progress in a very short amount of time if you're just doing small, consistent steps towards those things every day or a couple times a week, you know, depending on the situation. You know, so in my Becky calendar, I've got 2.5 months of the fall season that I can make a lot of progress towards things that I know are realistic to work on this year. Even if they're, you know, like a weight loss goal that may follow me in, you know, to 2023 and beyond, I can still make a lot of progress in 2.5 months. So be thinking of those things that you want to do that you can do realistically in the next couple months, either start to finish, or also those larger goals that you have that maybe there is a bigger end result down the road, but there's a lot of smaller steps you can take towards that larger goal here in the next couple months. So speaking of weight loss, another thing I really like to do all the time, but especially in a new season, is to remotivate my fitness and health goal. So since one of my main focuses is going to be really amping up my fitness routine, I had fallen into a lull I had not done really anything that I was proud of, which I know I shouldn't say because any movement you should be proud of, but I was not working to the best of my capacity, ability, motivation, inspiration, any of that stuff since early May. We went on vacation, we came back, we were sick, and then ever since then, it's just kind of been a struggle, more than usual. So I decided I wanted to follow a program, a new workout program for fall to reinvigorate and reignite my fitness routine and challenge myself and give me something new to do. So I recommend doing that anyway on a regular basis, switching up your workouts, which I do, but I really wanted to do something different. And I have never done any of Caroline Gervin's workout programs. I have done some of her videos, but I've never done an actual program. And I know a lot of YouTubers do this. A lot of fitness YouTubers do this. Sydney Cummings, Heather Robertson, Caroline Gervin. There's plenty of people that do it, and they're free. Sometimes there's like add-ons. You can do like a nutrition plan, but the videos themselves that I've, in my experience, have been free. So I was trying to decide which of her programs I wanted to start with, and I was looking at Fuel or Iron. Ultimately, I think I'm going to do Fuel because they're both the same amount of time, 30 minutes. The reason I wanted to do Fuel versus Iron is the Fuel actually has a little bit of cardio in it, and Iron, from what I've been able to see, is just strength, which is fine, but my body really needs cardio at least once a week. So, but they're both 5 workouts a week. They're both 30 minutes a day plus warm up and cool down. And they are both 6 weeks. So I'm going to go into this and start the Fuel program knowing full well that it's going to take me longer than 6 weeks, because I know there's going to be times when I am not feeling well or something happens with my schedule, and I know that's going to happen. I have a feeling it'll take me closer to 8 or 9, but that's okay. So it is 2 times a week of lower body training, 1 time per week for upper, 1 time a week for full body, and then 1 cardio HIIT specific video, which is why I chose Fuel over Irons. I always write down my workouts. I don't know why, I just do. And I used to always just write them down in a calendar like this, you know, whatever day of the week, but I wanted to be able to see them like at a glance, the whole month at a glance. So I keep this in my new planner that I have started this summer. I really wanted to try to go from computer planning, digital planning, to pen and paper again. And it took a lot of shifting and redoing and kind of relearning, reteaching, rethinking how I plan. But so far I'm loving it. And so this is something I keep in that planner. And so that way I can look at the month, at the whole month, and I can see, you know, what days I worked out, what days I didn't. I already marked out Saturdays. I do not work out on Saturdays. And then with the Caroline Gervin program being 5 days a week, I sometimes work out 6 days a week on Sunday. Sometimes when I'm good and I go to bed at a decent time on Saturday night, I have enough energy to get up early before church, before the girls get up or anybody gets up, to do a workout on Sunday. So I haven't marked off Sundays yet, but I don't anticipate doing every single Sunday, but at least a couple. And that's something that I did a long time ago that I just started back up again, and has been a really good thing for me to get some extra workouts in, and maybe make up for if I skipped a day or two during the week I didn't plan on. I can make it up on Sundays. So maybe you've already been working out and you are finding yourself getting burned out, or maybe you've reached a plateau in your fitness level or your strength or your weight loss. Now is the perfect time to reevaluate your goals. First of all, acknowledge your progress. That's also important. But then also revisit your goals. What is your end result? Is it just to lose weight? Maybe it's to be stronger and have more functional strength. Maybe it's to be able to run a certain amount. You know, everybody's got their own idea of their end goal. But sometimes how we get there can get a little bit stagnant. So be thinking of ways you can inject a little bit of different things, a little bit of more creativity, more fun, more excitement around reaching those goals, because it is definitely about the journey almost as much as it is about the destination. So you're going to want to find new ways to challenge your body and your mind. So another thing I like to reassess, and I do this monthly too, but especially now when we're getting really close to the end of the year, and of course got a couple months in the fall season, is a savings goal. We've been working really hard on saving, and we're about $3,000 from our next big milestone of where I would like to be. Now, obviously I have a bigger number for the end of the year, but you know, my husband and I are both commission only, so I have to be realistic and kind of keep my expectations pretty normal. You know, I don't want to be like crazy, $100,000 by the end of October, you know. I have to be really realistic, knowing that we're both on commission and the economy being what it is right now. I know that, you know, we may or may not reach that bigger goal down the road by the end of the year, but I think realistically we can save at least $3,000 by the end of October, so that we can reach that little milestone that I think is pretty exciting and kind of putting us in the right direction towards that bigger milestone. And I know $3,000 to some people seems like a lot, to other people it doesn't seem like much at all. It's nothing to laugh at. I definitely think it's a decent amount of money. And honestly, if I was being honest with myself and with you, we could save that a lot faster if we cut back on a lot of the silly things that we spend money on. We're kind of a nice mix of being frugal and saving money when you can, but also enjoying a little bit of the things that life has to offer. Like for me, my Panera addiction, I eat at Panera every single day. I know some people think that's weird. I mean, there's weirder things that people do, and there's worse things that people do than eating at Panera every day. And I get a kid's meal, so it's not like it costs a whole bunch of money, but you know, still that adds up. But I know if he cut out on his eating out every day and I cut down on my eating out every day, and just that alone would save a lot of money. So I know that going into it. I think it's fun to have different types of financial goals, whether you're saving for a house or whether you're putting all your extra money towards credit card debt or whatever the reason is. I think it's fun to have a savings goal, and I think it's really fun to have different savings trackers to help you visually see how much you're saving, because it can be hard to take your money and put it in a savings account and then you kind of forget about it and you don't get to enjoy seeing the progress you've made. So these different saving trackers that you can find online there's some you can pay for, but don't pay for them. There's printable ones that are free. I'll link one for you. All different ones you can find where you can visually see the progress that you're making while you're saving money for a savings account or a vacation or putting it towards credit card debt. All different types of ways you can track your savings. But I think it's fun, and I think it's always good to have different financial goals. Another thing that I want to do and refocus on for fall and going on, you know, forward is reprioritizing and refocusing on my relationship with God. Every so often, especially when times are not terribly stressful. I mean, I think there are plenty of stressful things right now, but I mean, you know, there's no like, I don't want to jinx myself, but there's no like terribly horrible things happening to me right now. And so I think a lot of times, like most people, when that happens, you find yourself falling away from your relationship with God. We're very fickle and I think selfish creatures that we tend to stop talking to God or stop prioritizing God enough when things are going good for us. But then when something goes wrong, boy, we're like, oh, you know, God help me do this, and we're doing all this stuff, you know. And I think sometimes that's why we have tough times in our life, because it's God calling us to Him and wanting us to strengthen that relationship and strengthen that need and desire to be with Him. And so I typically, all over the summer especially, will fall away from my devotional routine and or my prayer routine, just because our Bible time is so ingrained in our curriculum time that when we don't do school during the summer, I tend to like let that slide. Now this summer I was better than I have ever been before about doing devotionals with the girls even during the summer. So that I am happy about. And I also did read my Bible some. I decided earlier this year that I would like to read through the Bible start to finish. I've never done that before. I've never even attempted to do that before, and it was never even on my radar. But then one day I just decided, you know, I'm 42 years old. It really should be time that I at least read through the Bible one time. And I'm not setting a certain time limit of like reading it by the end of the year or whatever, not even a certain amount of chapters per day. I'm just reading through it at the pace that I am going, because I don't want to make it seem like a chore. But that being said, I haven't read it as much as I should have in the last month or so. And then my prayer routine, you know, I don't think you just have to pray at any certain time. You know, it's not just when you're in church. It's not always just before you go to bed. But I do like to say prayers, like dedicated, quiet, peaceful prayers at least once a day. You know, I'll talk to God throughout the day all day long, but I really feel like He deserves at least one time of the day with me alone, as undistracted as possible, where I'm actually praying and talking to Him and, you know, thanking Him for things or asking Him for things. And every single night at bedtime, I fall asleep saying my prayers. And I hate that. I've done that for years, and I wake up in the middle of the night like trying to finish them, and I'm thinking things that don't make sense because I'm half asleep, and I hate that. So I have a prayer journal that I did, I think I started it last year, and it's something I was doing in the morning, and it really does help because obviously I'm not laying down. I'm up at my desk or I'm in the living room with the girls. I'm awake and I'm consciously thinking about what I want to pray for, what I want to ask for, what I'm thankful for. And I think that's something I'm excited that is something I typically do during the school year that I should do during the summer. But I really need to refocus and reprioritize God in my daily life. Even if it's summer break, that's not break from God. But it just kind of is the unfortunate side effect of that. Also, this fall and Becky fall, by the end of October, I need to really finish either penciling in and or finalizing our vacations for the upcoming year. This is something that I may work on a little bit in the winter. It really depends on deadlines for like booking hotels and things, but most of it, if not all of it, needs to be done by the end of October. So if you work and or your spouse works and you have vacations that you want to take in the upcoming year, depending on where you're wanting to go, it's definitely not a bad idea to start figuring out like when you might want to go and what hotels you might want to stay at or what flights you might want to book. Things like that. So my husband actually gets, well, kind of 2.5 vacations next year. He'll have 5 days of carryover from this year in the beginning part of next year. And so that's when we plan on going to Florida, going to Disney, and maybe a couple days at a beach nearby. We're not really sure which beach. And so I've got a lot of research I need to do about that. I've already booked the Disney part of the trip, but I need to book the other part. So which beach we're gonna stay at, what hotel we're gonna stay at, and all that. And then after a certain time in the summer, like his, what do they call it, like your anniversary date of him working there, he gets another 10 days. So 5 of those 10 we will take for a second trip. So it either we'll go somewhere really small or maybe we'll just stay around the house and do some fun stuff. But I still want to kind of like figure out what we're going to do with those days. And then those extra 5 days from the 10 will carry into the spring trip of 2024, if that makes any sense. It's really confusing, but be thinking about where you might want to go. Sometimes just like our time with God, we have to be really intentional, and sometimes even put it on our to-do list. It's the same thing with taking time off, whether it's a big trip you're planning or just some small fun things you want to do around your state or even in your city. I think sometimes when we're so busy, we have to be really intentional about taking the time to go to these different fun things as a family, or making a priority to go out with your spouse, which is something my husband and I are terrible about. Or, making the extra concentrated time to go out with one kid with one parent, and then the other kid takes the other, the other parent takes the other kid and swap, that we've been pretty good about. And it's gotten a little bit easier even since my oldest daughter has a job now. So she's at work more than, she didn't have a job before. So I have a lot more time with my youngest by herself than I did before. Something else that we have done every year for the last few years for summer and fall is to make a bucket list. And I think a lot of people think of bucket lists for like little kids of like, oh, go to this, go to the playground or, do this, that. But anybody can make a bucket list, whether it's crazy things you want to do, like major things, or if it's just small things you want to do, like go to the pumpkin patch or go horseback riding or whatever it is. But we do this especially in the summer and the fall because there are things that we like to do that are somewhat season specific that we will make a list to do. And I think it's just another way, like I mentioned earlier, about being intentional with your time and making sure that of all the things that you have to do, that you're being intentional and scheduling in things that you want to do. And a bucket list really gets everybody in the family involved. Everybody can add ideas to the bucket list of what they may want to do. Obviously, you might not be able to get around to everything, either because of time or money or both, but it still gives you an idea of what everybody wants to do, what their top priority items are, and then take that extra step and try to pencil them in as much as possible. And then something else that I like to do, seems like it just happens in the fall. There's something about fall, especially early fall. I love early fall. I just don't like it once it starts getting cold and gloomy. I don't like that. But I love early fall. I love the change of the seasons, all of them. I think there's so much beauty in that. And for some reason, fall to me has a certain sound. The main way is like outside. It sounds different outside in the summer versus fall. I don't know if it's because of the trees not having leaves or whatever it is. I don't know. But there's definitely a sound to fall in nature. But then also to me, there's a fall sound in music. And so I think it's fun to make a fall music playlist of all these different songs that just feel fall-y to me. If you know what I mean, like, I don't know, if you don't feel like different songs have different moods or different seasons almost to them, then you won't understand this at all. But I definitely feel like fall has a certain sound. Usually it's kind of almost like a lonely sound, a little echoey. And so I have some songs that I am currently putting into a fall vibes playlist. It's just super fun to play around the house when I'm doing fall-y type things. It's just something fun. If you guys have a music subscription to Apple Music or Spotify or anything like that, I just think it's fun. Just a fun way to enjoy the season and kind of make it even extra, that much more extra special. So that is pretty much in a nutshell the things that I'm going to be refocusing my energy on, reprioritizing in my life, trying to work more into my schedule, and then trying to bring life into something that I've been doing for a long time, especially when it comes to exercise. I've been exercising and, you know, on a health journey for years and years now, and I've definitely had ebbs and flows of that. But I'm really excited to kind of reinvigorate that area of my life and, you know, refocus in other areas. So that's kind of my plan going into fall, but you don't need a new season or a new year to make changes in your life. But I definitely feel like it helps. There's just something so satisfying with a fresh start and a new beginning that does come from a new season and sometimes a new year, but you definitely don't have to have that. You can start over right now in this second with whatever category that you want. The Bible does say that in everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. So I definitely think that there is something to having the fresh start of a new season. And in Galatians, it also tells us not to grow weary from doing good, that eventually you will reap from what you have worked for. So, you know, if you feel like you are losing motivation on something that you wanted to do or something you wanted to achieve, just keep going. Keep doing the next right thing, just one step at a time. Little steps will eventually get you to a bigger result. It just sometimes takes time and it's hard to be patient. So sit down with a pencil and paper, a cup of coffee or some tea or whatever you like to drink, and really think about what you wanted to do this year but didn't yet. Things that you want to do in the future and the steps that you can take right now to make progress towards them. What you did well, what you could have done better. What are your real priorities? Not just what you think your priorities are, but really what are the things that matter the absolute most. And put those on a piece of paper, and then you can really see everything on a page all at once, and be honest and patient with yourself and give yourself grace as you go through this list of how you can do things better. Maybe where you messed up, but how you're going to make better steps and better choices in the future, and how that can fit into your daily life with your to-do list and all the things that you have to do on any given day. So if you like this reset video and you want to see more, especially coming up in winter, as you know, my fall season ends October 31st. So I could do a winter reset, you know, sometime in early November. If you're interested in that, make sure you let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments something that you do going into a new season. It doesn't have to be fall, but anything you do going into a new season to prepare for that next season. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you head out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.